the Friends of Detroit Animal Care and Control Town Hall. We appreciate all your support and taking the time to learn more about Friends of DACC. My name is Roberta Sierra, and we'll go through a few slides and then we'll introduce the rest of the team. So for the agenda tonight, I'm just going to walk through the things that we plan on discussing tonight. The first thing is we want to start this off on a positive note. We want to make sure that you understand that we're looking to work together with everybody, and that we're planning on having teamwork be our slogan. We want to make sure that we understand that everybody wants to work together. Oh, it's still showing that. I'm sorry. Shoot. Okay. Sorry, guys. Let me change this. Just have to get back to the okay. Here we go. Sharing. Am I sharing anything right now, guys?
No.
I don't see anything, Roberta. That looks good.
Great. All right. Thanks again, everybody. Sorry about that. I apologize. So the agenda for tonight is, like I was talking about, we want to focus on teamwork. We want to make sure that we can work together. We're going to cover the purpose of the town hall. We're going to cover how you can contact if you have any questions about Friends of Detroit Animal Care and Control, or specifically DACC questions. We'll do introductions to the rest of the team. Dana is going to cover the history of Friends of Detroit Animal Care and Control and how it was formed. We'll talk about our vision and mission. We also want to focus some time on what are the differences between what Friends of Detroit Animal Care and Control was set up to do versus the DACC responsibilities. We'll talk about the last 2 years, what's been happening during the COVID-19 pandemic, current status of where we're at, what we want to do with Friends of DACC board, adoptions, fosters, we'll cover the financials, next steps and timeline, and then at the last portion of the town hall, we'll take questions and answers. All right, where's the slide not moving now? There we go. So we're all here tonight because we all have one thing in common. We all love animals. I think that we can all look at each other and say that is what we all have in common. That's what we all believe in. I selected these I guess slides or whatever to say these are things that represent both the spirit of Friends of Detroit Animal Care and Control and what we want to do to make sure that we move forward as a group. So let me just cover the purpose of the town hall. The intent of this meeting is to share the progress of Friends of Detroit Animal Care and Control, the progress that we've made in the last couple of years, and the plans for the future. Participants will be muted throughout the call, but we'll take questions and answers at the last 20 minutes of the call, and they'll be submitted via chat. The meeting is to focus on Friends of DACC and how to strengthen and support the animals and residents of Detroit. The board, being a very small group of people right now, cannot speak for or answer any questions about Detroit Animal Care and Control, its employees, or any of the Detroit City property. We are not an advocacy board for DACC. Friends of Detroit Animal Care and Control purpose is not to influence shelter operations or employees at the DACC. So I kindly request that everybody keep all their communications professional because we want to work together. Thank you. So as I stated before on the agenda, so if there are any specific related questions, you can reach out to Lori Soul regarding field services, Mark Kump regarding shelter operations, and then if you had any questions about the new building plans, it would be Sandra Ustall, and we've provided the email address here. We will also end up posting, in case that you want to access any of these emails, we'll be posting this on the Friends of Detroit Animal Care and Control website so that you can see these email addresses later. If you have any questions regarding Friends of Detroit Animal Care and Control, we'll be glad to answer them. If we don't answer them today in the town hall, then you can go ahead and email us at townhall@friendsofdacc.org. So introductions. The people that are currently on the board and are on the phone tonight are Renina McCaskill, who was the founder of DACC. She's currently a non-voting Friends of DACC. She's a non-voting member on the board. She's employed at the DAC since 2015, and she's responsible for establishing the volunteer program. Dana Eldred is the executive director of Friends of DACC. She's a non-voting member. She's a volunteer since 2015, and she's been employed at DACC since 2016. Stephanie Lee, who is on the board, she's our foster coordinator, is a voting member, and she's been a volunteer since 2019. Giovanna Posilius is a board member as well. She's does our communications. She's a volunteer and has been a foster parent since 2018. And then I'm Roberta Sierra. I am the acting treasurer, a voting member, and I also volunteer, and I've been a foster parent since 2018. So that gives you a little background about who we are. So Dana's going to take us through the history of Friends of DACC, which I think is a very important topic that we should re-review, because I think number one, it's interesting, and number two, it gives you some perspective about what Friends of is about.
Okay. So this is a very, very brief history of Friends of DACC. I just wanted to hit some key points here that might put some of this in context for everyone. The city of Detroit filed for bankruptcy in 2013, and many programs and budgets were cut leading up to this. In 2015, the former director of Detroit Animal Control was replaced, and the division was moved out from under the police department to become under the health department, and it was renamed Detroit Care and Control. The new director at the time wanted to bring in volunteers, requires a background check. Applicants are only approved for, you moved off the screen. Yeah. Is it better? Sorry. We're back, keep going? Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. But the process to become a volunteer through the city is pretty labor intensive. It does have to be renewed every couple of months. It was going to be a lot of work for not a lot of payoff, and it would have been lengthy. The city of Detroit also cannot accept donations directly, whether monetary or material. In order to bring in volunteers and have a way to accept donations, a Friends of Detroit Animal Care and Control nonprofit organization was incorporated in April of 2016. Renina McCaskill was asked to be one of the founding members. The other two members that founded Friends of DACC stepped off the board within the first year, as they were both on boards of other animal organizations. Renina McCaskill then worked on recruiting a working board who took over in February of 2017, which included myself, Dana Eldred. Friends of DACC spearheaded offsite adoption events until March of 2018, when the city reinstituted their adoption program and adoptions could be done on site again. Friends of DACC created a foster program in November of 2018. Friends of paid for offsite sterilization for adopted animals until June of 2020, when a surgical suite was set up in-house finally. Friends of continues to pay for heartworm treatment medication, collars, leashes, harnesses, among other things, and will do so until the city provides this themselves. Friends of DACC's mission has always been to assist DACC. Over the years, the board has fluctuated and morphed as members have moved, started families, gotten new jobs, needed mental health breaks, life happened. And so we are again going to be recruiting for more folks to take over.
Thanks, Tina. So first of all, we would like to thank all of you that are on the phone. Without all of our supporters, donors, volunteers, adopters, fosters, rescue, and training partners, we couldn't do it without you. Our vision for Friends of is committed to saving animals' lives, ensuring equal access to companion animals for all socioeconomic levels, and raising the level of care for all animals in the city of Detroit. Our mission is to support Detroit animal care and control in areas of volunteer management, donation, solicitation, and acceptance, and live release, which includes shelter intervention. So again, thank you all for joining the call, and we appreciate your support. So we wanted to get into a little bit of detail about what is the difference between Friends of DACC and Detroit Animal Care and Control. Friends of is a nonprofit organization. It's 501(c)(3) approved. We manage the volunteer program. We accept monetary and material donations for the shelter. We support transfer, adoption, and foster of shelter animals after stray hold is expired. We purchase collars, leashes, harnesses, and adoption foster bags for each dog that leaves the shelter. We promote animal adoption to the community, supplement any outside vet for spay, neuter, and foster animals. So, for example, when the shelter is really full and the vet can't get to all of the spay and neuters, we can outsource that, and Friends of will pay for that. We support animal vaccination, license, microchips clinics in the city of Detroit. We purchase medication for heartworm treatment. And just to reiterate, the Friends of Detroit Animal Care and Control Board has absolutely no control over the functions of DACC, which is managed by the city of Detroit. So what does Detroit Animal Care and Control do? They're overseen and managed by the city of Detroit. They take in the stray animals from the city of Detroit. They employ and manage shelter employees. They feed and care for animals at the shelter. They provide the medical treatment for animals at the shelter by city employed vet team. They're legally responsible for all animals until they are transferred or adopted. They develop and enforce the DACC policies. They're responsible for building and properties. They lead adoption counseling, they're the adoption decision makers. They investigate dog bites. They enforce Detroit animal ordinances. So we wanted to cover what was going on during the COVID-19 pandemic. As you know, the COVID-19 pandemic had been a big impact on every single one of our lives, including Friends of DACC. Initially, there were no volunteers even permitted at the shelter. There was restricted access to the shelter. You had to have a negative COVID test or be vaccinated, and mask requirements. A lot of people stayed away because they were fear of exposure in a public place. There were new orientation requirements to return to the shelter, which caused a delay in people being able to return to volunteering. And then since during that time, all the focus was on the care of the animals, the board recruitment replacement was delayed due to the pandemic. But there was some good news that happened during the pandemic. A lot of people stepped up and fostered and adopted animals when the shelter went into shutdown. New volunteers joined the Friends of Detroit Animal Care and Control now that things are returning to our new normal. COVID and the high volume of people fostering dogs helped us develop a new enhanced foster program. Since we were restricted to not really being able to do any offsite events, this provided the time for us to work on enhancing the Friends of DACC. So there was a silver lining in the cloud there somewhere. What's the current status of Friends of DACC? During the pandemic, we consulted with an external nonprofit organization. It was actually not even an animal nonprofit, trying to figure out how to determine the appropriate steps to strengthen the Friends of organization. Based on that meeting, with the person that helped us understand what we needed to do, we updated the bylaws that were created. We went through a legal review. Those are now posted on the Friends of website. We updated our insurance policies for Friends of that you should have for nonprofit organizations. We've updated the board organization chart. We created new job descriptions, and available board positions are going to be posted on the Friends of website as well. We're current on all of our bookkeeping and taxes. We enhanced the foster program. We updated the volunteer handbook. We prepared position job descriptions. There's actually 10 job descriptions that are included, or that we created, but we're only going to try to fill 6 of them right now because we want to try to basically walk before we run. We want to build a strong foundation, then add on from there. We are going to be looking for these 6 different board positions to be filled, but I want to make clear that you can't just have a board running an organization like this. We need for each of those board directors to help form committees through either networking or volunteers so that they can execute on their responsibility. These positions are definitely not one-man shows. It's going to take a team of people to make sure that we can do this right and move forward. So like I stated, we want to make sure we build a solid foundation and then build from there. And the intent is to have a community of people that will support Friends of DACC, not just a board. So this is the organization chart for the board. You'll see in the darker blue, we have Renina, who was a founding member. She's a non-voting permanent member. We have Dana in the darker blue as well. She's a non-voting member and is permanent. There are the 6 positions in green that are going to be available for, we'll go through the process of how you can apply and the voting process later in the presentation. But these are the 6 positions that will be available. And then anything in a light blue is actually going to be a future position. And as you can see, we also want to include an advisory board, which would be at least 2 members from the non-animal world. So the president role, they've worked closely with the founder and the executive director to make sure that we're meeting financial expectations of the organization. They'll develop the agenda. They'll actually run the board meetings under the guidance of the board. They'll work on strategies for financially running a nonprofit organization. And they'll work closely with the president, outreach director, and executive director to establish relationships with agencies, foundations, major donors, and developing a branding and marketing strategy. And they'll also be responsible for making presentations to executive donors and board members. The secretary is going to be responsible for basically keeping all the minutes of the board, making sure that we have accurate records from all the meetings, that we're following the bylaws, and keeping detailed records of the board from almost keeping like corporate seals and making sure that we're doing things, I guess, the proper way is what I should say. I am just going through I didn't say this before and I apologize, but I'm just going through this. These are high level descriptions of the positions. There will be actually posted job descriptions, which will go into much more detail about what the positions are about, but I wanted to at least share with everybody a high level so that you can see if you might be interested in a position like this. The treasurer is going to have obviously responsibility for all the funds, bank accounts, making sure that we have good financial processes in place, We're currently using QuickBooks, and they'll maintain the books. They'll be responsible for making sure that we go through an audit, and that they'll also be responsible for making sure that the taxes are filed on an annual basis. The communication director would be responsible for any external and internal messaging. So they'd work not only with the public, but also with the internal teams on any communications. They'd be responsible for all the social media accounts, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, and Twitter. They'll be responsible for making sure that all the adoptable animals are posted to the proper media outlets. They'll work closely with the foster team and in-shelter personnel as well. They'll be responsible for making sure that they build a calendar for the organization for the year, so that we can post to social media and other outlets what our what our plans are for the year. They'll also be responsible for responding to any emails and messages that come through to the organization. And again, this is not a one-person job. This is going to take a team of people in an organization like this to keep up with all of this communication. Volunteer director. The volunteer director will be responsible for overseeing and scheduling orientation for all the volunteers, and ensuring that we're following all the appropriate required tasks that the DACC has outlined, and making sure that we follow any COVID related protocols. They'll also make sure that the volunteer orientation is up to date at all times, and that's in accordance with our bylaws and any DACC policy. They'll oversee the sign-up schedules and make sure that there are enough volunteers in attendance, not for just walking dogs, but for adoption, fundraising, and otherwise. Our community engagement director would oversee all offsite events. They'd also act as the Friends of PR assistant. They'd be responsible for engagement with the Detroit community through education, training, and other community needs. And they'll work with the board as needed on any community outreach. Our placement outreach director would be responsible for all the adoption and foster coordinating and outreach. They'd maintain any records for adopted and fostered animals, and ensure that any of the directors on the board have access to those records. They'll be responsible for the foster Facebook group, provide orientation to all foster and adoption team members, work alongside with directors to recruit fosters and adopters, and they'd be responsible for all the communication between the foster and adoption volunteer teams, and making sure that we're actually contacting families in a timely manner and keeping record of any communications, and creating any tools and guidelines for the team to use and follow. So I know that I went through a lot in the last few slides, but the point is it's going to take a village, and we would encourage you to join the team, or if you know of other people that might be good for a position on the team, we would appreciate it if you bring them forward. We really think that we can build a really strong organization and do some great things in the future. So, how to apply for the board? You can go to the Friends of website and complete a Google application form. The Google form is going to be available 1 week from today for you to be able to apply to the positions. The job descriptions will be out there by what, tomorrow, Dana, for people to actually open up the document, look at the job descriptions, and get an understanding of what the position entails. Applications are going to be evaluated based on the thoughtful responses, and to ensure the applicants truly believe in saving animals and actually support the Friends of DACC. There will also be a voting process posted on the Facebook supporters and fosters page for engaged Friends of DACC participants to vote for people that they would actually like to see on the board. And Stephanie is going to walk us through the voting process for the board members.
Thanks, Roberta. I just want to first off say thank you again, you guys, for attending and for participating as a volunteer or a foster or a doctor or just a community participant. We really appreciate your guys' making such dedication in your lives to saving animals and helping through Friends of Dacc. So thank you. I also wanted to touch base on the positions that Roberta had shared at a high level. Again, like she said, the job descriptions that are in detail will be posted soon. And then the official application process Google form will be posted a week from today. We know that we have committees already in place that help with social media and the foster team, and you guys rock. We couldn't do this without you. So thank you so much. And we encourage everyone who's already participating in Friends of Dacc on those committees to continue volunteering in that capacity. Some of the titles have changed, like instead of social media, it's communications. And instead of foster, it's going to be placement outreach. So that way we can encompass both adoptive outreach and follow-up and foster outreach and follow-up. But now I'll dive into the voting process. So we wanted to make sure that we gave everyone who is part of the Fodac community a voice. We realize that with the pandemic, things have been hard to be in person or to volunteer as much. And so we wanted to make sure we touched on folks who also volunteered before that point. So the 4 categories of people who are qualified to vote on this are any active volunteers, either in person or remotely, from 2019 through today and ongoing. And then fosters and adopters from 2019 to 2022 or year to date. 1 collective representative or 1 collective vote from all active transfer and training partners. And then 1 collective vote from each community organization or business that we partner with, like Dhcc, Pet Supplies Plus, and similar. And so we really wanted to make sure that everybody who was part of this community had a say in this and could help build this new organization as we try to expand it. And so that is the voting process. If you guys have any specific questions about that during the Q&A, I'd be happy to dive into that some more. When you guys, there isn't a formal registering portion. The registration happens when we have your volunteer records and know who's fostered and who's adopted based on our records as well. And so when you go through the voting process and we open those ballots, it will be through a Google form. And you'll want to put the name that is associated with your Fodac volunteer form that you have filled out, or the foster or the adoptive forms that you have filled out, so that we can find you properly in the system. So keep in mind any maiden names or name changes or anything like that. And so that's how we will keep track of it. There won't be a formal pre-registration. It will all be part of the same voting ballot. I think that's all I have, Roberta.
Thank you, Stephanie. So, as I stated before, all the bylaws, the board member job descriptions in detail, and the town hall presentation can be found here at friendsofdacc.org on the About tab. Wanted to go through a few numbers. Adoptions from 2021, there were approximately 1,700 adoptions, 808 fosters, and then year to date we're at about 600 adoptions and 160 fosters, which is just approximate because we don't have counts on all of the records if they've gone out for a there's dog venture and maybe not brought back. They may have gone into foster that way as well. Financials for the past 3 years. When I go through the financials, in 2019 it was a big jump in donations, which obviously allowed us to spend more money on items. We actually spent more than we took in for that year, but it was a big jump from 2018. 2020, even with it being a pandemic year, it was also the year that we raised funds for the X-ray machine, We had a lot of donations of support during that year, even with limited ability to do fundraising. In 2021, I think we were only able to do maybe one fundraiser. So there wasn't a lot of activity around fundraising in 2021. So the donations were and spending were down a bit. But just for transparency reasons, there's nothing to hide. This is what has happened over the last 3 years. So let's talk about the timeline and next steps. So today was the town hall. That was week 1. The board positions are going to be posted on the Friends of site, where you can actually go out and review the positions and fill out an application on a Google form from May 11th to May 27th. They'll be due by midnight on May 27th. For the first couple of weeks of June, we'll prepare the voting ballots from the end of May through June 10th. Week 3, there will actually be 1 week allowed for voting, which will be posted on the Friends of sites. And then the new board members will be announced by the end of June. So what we'd really like is for people to go out there, look at them. We're looking for motivated people that feel like we can work together and move forward as a group. So just wanted to reiterate, the contacts for DACC are here in this slide, as well as I shared it earlier. So if you have any DACC questions specifically, you can contact the people at these email addresses. But we are going to open up any Friends of DACC questions can be submitted via chat now.
The chat function is not currently allowing people to message all of the co-hosts at once, which is totally okay. If you have a question, you can send it to any one of the co-hosts.
So first question that I received is, with voting, is it only 1 total member from another organization and 1 from a transfer partner? So we realize that some of our transfer partners have more folks in their organization than others, same with our business partners and things like that. So we wanted to make it a fair process. So we're asking that each organization that we partner with, transfer partners, training partners, that they discuss internally and then submit a collective vote on behalf of their organization.
I also received a question. The question is there a way for us to indicate if we would like to join a future committee? I can't commit to a board position, but I'd love to help with fundraising. Absolutely. I think in the past we've done it a different way, but I think this time this is new information. So if any of the other board members have anything to say about it, but I think on the Google form, we can include a section for intent to join a committee, not just the board. And you can indicate what committee at that point. That way we'll gather all of the information in one place, and we can give the elected board members the information about who is interested in being on their committee. You also, at any time, it's a little hectic right now. Obviously, we do not have all the members we want to, but at any time you can just message us on Facebook and say, like, how do I help with XYZ? If that's more convenient, or the email address that we posted for questions for the town hall, townhall@friendsofdacc.org. So I think all of those. Also, I have an additional question. Also, is Friends of being represented in the plan development for the new building? No, we are not. We are not involved in any way, shape, or form. We're happy about it, certainly, but we're not considered members for the purposes of the new building. That's a city junction only.
I have a couple of questions that I got. So next one I have was, how are the votes of volunteers who may have been who may have an amicably separated from Fodac going to be handled, we will honor those as one vote. So if you were a volunteer during the time frame, we will honor those as one vote. Voting will be posted on our website, Fodac website. It will also be posted on our official Fodac page on Facebook and then shared to our supporting pages, which include the volunteer page, supporters page, and fosters page. We had a suggestion. We have had 7 posts on Instagram for the year of 2022, and we're 5 months in. I think posting more would be a great opportunity to get more dogs adopted or the help you need, or maybe that can be a designated volunteer position. So that will be part of, go ahead.
We've stopped and started on Instagram multiple times. Frankly, I've been participating in social media for Friends Of for like 3+ years at this point, and Instagram does not get traction for us. We've pulled the numbers, it just doesn't. We're absolutely not opposed to running it, but at this point it was more effective for us to focus our manpower on Facebook, where we get like hundreds of thousands of interactions. I've never, in the many years that I've been here, I've never seen a dog get adopted off Instagram, unless their foster has like a dedicated account for that dog. So we're not opposed. It's just not a very efficient use of a limited amount of manpower at the current point in time.
I think as the communications team expands and we have more support and more bandwidth, that could be investigated, expanded at that time. But as like Giovanna said, as of right now, with what we have to work with, we're focusing our efforts on Facebook, where we see the most traction. Did I say that right, Giovanna? Yeah. Okay. Another question I had, what processes is Fodac going to enforce to ensure that cash donations are actually donated and accounted for? That's going to be something that the treasurer and the executive director and the president are going to have to figure out a process for, make sure that there are securities and validations in place. And
that is in the treasurer's job description.
Yep.
They're responsible for all financial processes. Are there any other comments or questions?
I have another one. Would Fodac be willing to have some type of behavioral testing with other dogs, et cetera, like they used to?
That would be considered in shelter operations. We don't test dogs for temperament.
Yeah, so right now, we have our training partners that we work with regularly, and every Dacc dog is eligible for at least 1 session. And so we partner with them regularly to have those evaluations. And then we also work with Greenfield Animal Hospital's behaviorist team. So when a training partner believes that another more attention is needed, then we do partner with them and sponsor a consultation so that that family or individual can work with those professionals to get the support that they need for any behavioral concerns.
Okay, so we'll give it another minute, see if there are any additional questions.
If you're typing out something long, let us know in case you wanted to provide more detail and take some more time to think it through.
Yeah, this would be a good Time to embrace the highlight, cut, type, send, paste, continue.
A question, will a recording of this meeting be posted somewhere? I missed some parts. We will have all of the slide deck. So everything that we went through today will be posted on our website. And so you will be able to look through all of that information as well. Sorry, I got a few at once. I'm trying to catch up. Is there a way to update how adoptions are handled for volunteers so that staff and volunteers are on the same page with everything? That will be part of the volunteer director to collaborate with the staff and be able to make sure that through orientation, everyone is on the same page. So that process will need to be worked out and solidified, but that would fall under that umbrella.
We do also, obviously, Friends of Volunteers are a huge part of adoption counseling, but ultimately final adoption decisions are to the city employees. We don't have the authority to make those decisions.
Agreed. Will board meetings be open to the public in the future? That hasn't been discussed. So that would be something that could be discussed with the new board and figure out how they wanted to handle that request. There are some nonprofit organizations that we've talked to who have various ways of handling that. Some post the minutes afterward to the public. Some host and have muted participants, and then people can do chat like this at the end. Some just have once a year updates where it's open to highlight everything that's been going on. Some do quarterly, so that's something that can certainly be discussed with the new board.
Any new questions?
And again, if you think of something after this, this isn't the end all be all. We have that town hall at friendsofdacc.org that you guys can also email questions to.
Absolutely. So this is the end of our presentation. I apologize for the little technical hiccups in the beginning, but we truly do appreciate everybody joining tonight. And we're really hoping that we've found some interest for some people to join the board. We really do want to make it a strong organization and plan, some good plans for moving forward in the future to help save animals' lives. So.
Roberta, sorry, I got another question as you were saying that.
Sure,
I have concerns about safety as a volunteer. Who would I address this to? Safety in regards to handling dogs. That again would fall under the volunteer director's jurisdiction, but if there's a current safety concern that you have, then you can certainly email that to us at the town hall. You can speak with a staff member to talk about that. If that's what you're seeing, if it's a volunteer-based thing, please email us and we can handle it from there. That's all I have.
Okay. Well, again,
Awesome.
we really appreciate everybody joining. Thank you. And we're looking forward to some new blood, new participants on the board. I hope that everybody understands how hard we've actually been working over the last couple of years to bring some additional organization to the group and make sure that everything is is documented and delineated as far as job descriptions so that we can work together as a team moving forward. So thank you so much for your time. Have a good night.